Brahma Purana. Vishvamitra and Indra. Long ago, there was a terrible drought. There was severe shortage of food. The sage Vishvamitra had come to the banks of the river Ganga with his disciples. Vishvamitra's wife, children and disciples were all hungry. The sage therefore sent his disciples out to look for food. They searched everywhere, but could find no food. The only object that they could find was the body of a dead dog. They brought this to Vishvamitra. "We have no choice," Vishvamitra told his disciples. "Clean the meat carefully with water. Then offer it to the gods, the sages and the ancestors. This is what we have to live on." Offering the meat of a dog to the gods was unheard of. Indra adopted the form of a hawk and stole the vessel in which the meat was kept. But Vishvamitra got to know about this and got ready to curse Indra. Indra was naturally scared of Vishvamitra's curse. He changed the dog meat into amrita, a heavenly drink, and brought the vessel back. "I don't want amrita," Vishvamitra told Indra. "Bring the dog meat back. I don't want to have amrita when the whole world is starving for food. There is no food available and I do not see any sin in eating dog meat. Nor should there be a sin in offering it to the gods." Indra was the god of rains. He realized that the only way to persuade Vishvamitra against eating the dog meat was to make it rain so that there would be an end to the drought. Instructed by Indra, the clouds poured down rain. Vishvamitra and his disciples now consented to partake the amrita. The place where all this happened has come to be known as Vishvamitra Tirtha. Shveta. There was a Brahmana named Shveta. He was a friend of the sage Gautama and had a hermitage on the banks of the Ganga. Shveta was also devoted to Shiva. In due course, Shveta died and Yama's messengers arrived to take Shveta to Yama. But they could not even enter Shveta's house. Finding that Yama's messengers are not returning, Yama's companion Chitraka told Yama, "What do you think has happened? Why aren't the messengers returning?" Yama now sent his companion Mrita, literally death, to find out what was going on. Mrita went to Shveta's house and found Yama's messengers standing outside the house. They explained that they were unable to enter the house because Shiva himself was guarding Shveta's body. One of Shiva's companions asked Mrita, "What are you doing here? What do you want?" "I have come to take Shveta to Yama," replied Mrita. "His time on earth is up." Mrita flung a noose to grasp Shveta's body. But Shiva's companion struck Mrita with a rod and killed him. When the news of this was taken to Yama, he was furious. With all his companions he attacked Shveta's house. Nandi, Ganesha, Kartikeya and several of Shiva's companions came to fight on Shiva's side, and a battle royal raged. All the gods arrived to mediate and end the strife. Things had got a bit out of hand and Yama himself had been killed by Kartikeya. The problem seemed to defy solution. Yama was, after all, performing his duty. But Shiva insisted that his devotees would never be taken to Yama, but would instead go straight to heaven. Shiva's condition was finally agreed to. Nandi brought water from the Ganga and sprinkled it on Yama and the others who had died in the fighting. They were all immediately brought back to life. Kbra. Kbra was the eldest son of the sage Vishrava. Vishrava had 2 wives. The first wife gave birth to Kbra. The second wife was a Rakshasa, demon, woman and gave birth to Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana. Kbra used to rule in Lanka and his relations with his cousins were extremely good. But Ravana's mother did not like the idea of her sons mixing so much with Kbra. She called her sons and said, "What are you up to? Why do you cause me so much of pain? You are demons and Kbra is a god. Is it proper that you should be so friendly with him? The relation between gods and demons is one of enmity. Consider Kubra's pomp and glory. Have you got anything like that to show for yourselves? Do something so as to improve your own statures." Thus instructed by their mother, Ravana, Kumbhakarna and Vibhishana went off to the forest to perform tapasya. They pleased Brahma with their prayers and desired the boon that they might win over the kingdom of Lanka. Ravana also obtained the boon that he would become very strong. Thus fortified with the boons, the demons attacked Kbra and defeated him. They drove Kbra out of Lanka. Kbra possessed a beautiful vimana named Pushpaka. This was also appropriated by Ravana. Ravana also made it known that whoever gave Kbra refuge would be killed by him. This meant that no one dared give refuge to Kbra. Kbra sought the advice of his grandfather Pulastya. Pulastya told him to go to the banks of the Gautami Ganga and pray to Shiva there. Shiva appeared before Kbra and blessed him with the boon that Kbra would become the god of all wealth. Harishchandra. In the Ikshvaku dynasty there ruled a king named Harishchandra. Harishchandra had no son. One day two sages named Narada and Parvata came to visit Harishchandra and told him that he would go to hell if he did not have a son. "How can I obtain a son?" asked Harishchandra. "Go to the banks of the Gautami Ganga," advised the sages. "Pray to the god Varuna there. We are sure that Varuna will grant you a son." Harishchandra pleased Varuna with his prayers and asked for a son. "You will have a son," said Varuna. "But there is a condition attached. You will have to subsequently organize a yajna in my honor and you will have to sacrifice your son at this yajna. Tell me if this condition is acceptable to you." "Yes indeed," replied Harishchandra. In due course, Harishchandra had a son who was named Rahita. Varuna came to Harishchandra and asked, "What about the yajna in my honor?" "My son is still too young," replied Harishchandra. "Let him at least attain 10 days of age. Till then, the baby is in any case impure and is not fit to be sacrificed." After 10 days Varuna came again and asked, "What about the yajna in my honor?" "Please let him grow his teeth," replied Harishchandra. "Animals are sacrificed at yajnas. And no one becomes an animal until he actually has teeth." Varuna waited till the teeth grew and returned when Rahita was 7 years of age. "What about the yajna in my honor?" he asked. "These are only milk teeth," replied Harishchandra. "These do not characterize an animal. Please wait until his proper teeth have grown." Varuna returned when the proper teeth grew and asked, "What about the yajna in my honor?" "He is the son of Kshatriya, the second of the 4 classes, a warrior class," replied Harishchandra. "But his training in the art of fighting has not even begun. He cannot be called a Kshatriya until he knows how to fight. Till that day he is an incomplete man. Do you really want such an incomplete man as a sacrifice?" After some years had passed, Rahita became skilled in the art of fighting and was appointed the heir apparent, Yuvaraja, to the kingdom. He was then 16 years of age. Varuna appeared again and asked, "What about the yajna in my honor?" This time the entire conversation took place in front of the prince and Rahita intervened before Harishchandra could say anything. "Father," he said, "I have already resolved to perform a yajna in Vishnu's honor. Grant me the permission to complete that first. After that, do what you will." Rahita went off to the forest. Meanwhile, Varuna had had enough and he afflicted Harishchandra with a painful stomach ailment. News of his father's illness was taken to Rahita in the forest. In the forest, Rahita met a sage named Ajagrata. The sage was very poor and, together with his wife and 3 sons, was starving. "Will you sell one of your 3 sons to me?" asked Rahita. "The boy is needed for a sacrifice." "I shall not sell my eldest son," said the sage. My wife will not permit the youngest one to be sold. You can have the one in the middle. His name is Shunashapa. The price will be 1,000 cows, 1,000 gold coins, 1,000 pieces of clothing and a lot of wealth." Rahita paid the price and brought Shunashapa home to Harishchandra. "We can't do this," said Harishchandra. "It is the duty of kings to protect the Brahmanas. How can we sacrifice the son of a Brahmana? It is better to die instead. Return Shunashapa to his father." Just then a divine voice was heard from heaven. The voice said, "There is no need for anyone to die. Take Shunashapa to the banks of the Gautami Ganga and perform the yajna to Varuna there. Gautami Ganga is such a sacred river that no human sacrifices are needed if a yajna is performed there." This is what Harishchandra did and Varuna was satisfied. As for Shunashapa, he was adopted by the sage Vishvamitra as a son. Vriddhagoutama. The sage Gautama had a son named Vriddhagoutama. Vriddhagoutama was also a sage. But he was very ugly. Besides, he had no nose, had never had one since he had been born. He was so ashamed of this deformity that he could not bear to join the other children of the sages in studying the Vedas and Shastras under a teacher. But Vriddhagoutama knew some incantations, mantras, which he always chanted. He also worshipped the god Agni. When he grew a bit older, Vriddhagoutama went out to tour the world. He traveled to many places and met many people. Since he was deformed, he never got married. Who would want to marry a person so ugly as he? In the course of his travels, Vriddhagoutama arrived at a mountain named Shitagiri. He discovered a beautiful cave in the mountain and thought that this might be a good place to live in. So he entered the cave and was very surprised to find an old woman inside. The old woman had obviously been living inside the cave for many years. Her body was thin and wasted from the rigors of severe tapasya. Vriddhagoutama was about to touch the feet of such a venerable old woman, but the woman restrained him. "Please don't touch my feet," said the woman. "You are my guru. Does a guru ever bow before his disciple?" Vriddhagoutama was surprised at these words. This was the first time in his life that he had met the old woman. "How can I be your guru?" he asked. "You are much older than me. Besides, I have never learned anything and you are clearly a respected ascetic. Your words are a complete mystery to me." "Let me tell you my story," said the old woman. "Then only you will understand. There was a handsome and brave prince named Vriddhagoutama. He was the son of King Harishchandra. Vriddhagoutama went on a hunt to the forest and arrived at this very cave. There he happened to meet an apsara named Sushyama. The two fell in love with each other and got married. But eventually, Vriddhagoutama had to return home and Sushyama gave birth to a daughter there. Sushyama left her daughter in the cave itself with the instruction that she was not to leave the cave. The first man to enter the cave would become her husband. It was this daughter who had now become the old woman. Vriddhagoutama had reigned for 80,000 years. After that, Vriddhagoutama's son had reigned for 10,000 years. All this while, Sushyama's daughter had lived in the cave, that is, for 90,000 years altogether. "Now you see that you are to be my husband," said the old woman. "Is a husband not a guru?" "What you say is quite impossible," replied Vriddhagoutama. "You are much older than me. I am only 1,000 years old and you more than 90,000. How can we marry? I am like a child next to you." "If you do not marry me, I will kill myself," said the old woman. "But I am ugly," protested Vriddhagoutama. "I will promise you this much. If I ever become handsome and learned, I will indeed marry you. I have pleased the goddess Sarasvati, who presides over all learning, through my tapasya," said the old woman. "She will make you learned. I have also pleased the god Varuna and he will make you handsome. Vriddhagoutama became handsome and learned and married the old woman. They lived happily in the cave. One day, various sages came to visit the couple. Amongst them there were sages like Vashishta and Vamidva. But there were also young sages who are not all that sensible. The younger sages started to laugh at the sight of the young and handsome Vriddhagoutama and his aged wife. "Who is this man?" they asked the old woman. "Is he your son or your grandson?" The sages went away, but the couple felt ashamed. They asked the sage Agastya what they might do. Agastya told them to go and bathe in the river Gautami Ganga. The river is so sacred that all one's heart's desires are thereby granted. The couple did this and prayed to Vishnu and Shiva. Wonder of wonders, the old woman became young and pretty. The place on the banks of the river where these wonderful things happened is a tirtha named Vriddhasangama.